Who is Ayn Rand? A phenomenally successful novelist whose books have sold millions of copies, founder of a revolutionary philosophy named Objectivism. She's amassed legions of fans who say her books changed their lives, and legions of detractors who mostly haven't read them and don't want you to either. So who is this woman behind all the controversy? Born Alyssa Rosenbaum on February 2nd, 1905 in St. Petersburg, Russia. At 12 years old, she and her two little sisters witnessed the first shots of the Russian Revolution from the window of their apartment. The communists nationalized her father's pharmacy, leaving the family with barely enough to survive. Against the growing squalor and oppression of life under Soviet rule, she longed to escape to the West. On the eve of the 22nd birthday, she got her chance. With her mother's help, she obtained a passport to visit relatives in Chicago and left Russia in January 1926, never to return again. She arrived in New York City weeks later with just $50 to her name, a name she would later change to Ayn Rand, in part to protect her family back home. After a few months in Chicago, she set out for Hollywood. A chance meeting with the film director, Cecil B. DeMille, landed her a job, first as a movie extra, then as a junior screenwriter. It was soon after, on the set of DeMille's film, King of Kings, that she literally stumbled into the actor Frank O'Connor, who would eventually become her husband of 50 years. Over the next decade, Rand mastered the English language, writing many screenplays and short stories. Her extraordinary perseverance eventually paid off with 2 Broadway plays and the publication of We the Living. Drawing on her own experience growing up in Russia, this first novel exposed the noble experiment of communism for the murderous deception it really was. When one of her plays was made into a movie in which the studio turned her hero into a villain, she was infuriated. But the experience gave her an idea for a novel about a visionary architect who would not compromise his creative vision for the sake of others.
We want your design. We're only asking for a few small changes to the facade. Can't you just compromise?
12 publishers rejected The Fountainhead before it was finally published in 1943, which was then made into a movie with Gary Cooper and Patricia Neal. Rand had arrived and achieved fame and prosperity in her new homeland. But back in Russia, millions were dying as communism destroyed that country and poisoned other countries. For Rand, that was bad enough. But worse still was that her new country, America, romanticized these communist ideals. It was the era of big labor, and workers were being organized to go on strike. That gave Rand another idea. What if the creative producers who built businesses, financed industry, invented cures, composed great music, what if they went on strike? After a dozen years of work, Ayn Rand published Atlas Shrugged in 1957. It was about what would happen if the men of the mind were to go on strike. The novel was the fullest dramatic encapsulation of her philosophic ideas thus far. The idea that man is a heroic being who should pursue his own happiness, neither sacrificing himself to others or sacrificing others to himself. Rand called this philosophy Objectivism and went on to further elaborate it in dozens of essays, books, and public appearances. Her work represents a monumental philosophic and artistic achievement. Yet in the final years of her life, Rand had this to say, quote, "The elaboration of a philosophical system is a job that no philosopher can finish in his lifetime. There is still an awful lot of work to be done." Ayn Rand died on March 6, 1982. she left humanity with an incalculable gift of her joyous vision of the world and life's glorious possibilities. It's a vision that resonates anew with each new reader who discovers her novels for the first time, and through them discovers a new vision for themselves as individuals. At the Atlas Society, we've set out to engage 1 billion young minds with the ideas of Ayn Rand. You can help by tapping that subscribe button, and don't forget to give this video a like below.